Hey, everybody. Oh, I got to tell you guys a funny story in a minute. I love it. I love how amazing race car drivers are at just getting the timing sorted absolutely perfectly. I shouldn't have even been worried. I knew that Tim McCreadie would have this well and truly handled, but he made me sweat for it. Hello, everybody. Good to have your company. Don't forget to let me know where you all are from. Love to be able to send a shout out where possible. Apologies if I say your names incorrectly. Sean Colclesia, Emery Coons, Stanley Haddix, Ralphie Vinovich Jr. Good to have you on the program, everybody. Whew. Randall Kennedy, Paul Martin, hello to you all. Man, I tell you, I was like... So Tim McCreadie is driving to Magnolia, Mississippi, and he's on the road trip. And OHIO, Kelly Curtis. And I'm like, whoo, we're cutting it close. And I'm texting him with the Zoom link. And then like 12:29, boom, there he is, like right there on the spot. Like it was like literally they're about to throw the green. And he just rolls out there. Hello to Sherry Pellong Church, the Knoxville safety crew. Oh, I miss you guys too. Always love hanging out with you guys on the front and the back stretch there as well. So Aurora, Illinois. I went to Joliet. Pretty sure that's in Illinois. On the way, I drove from Knoxville Raceway in a June Outlaws event in 92. And the A-main finished and we drove straight to Michigan for the 400. And I remember being in this like gas station, this truck stop, and it had like, and you got to remember this was in 92. They had like these, the bathrooms, you didn't actually have to touch anything. Everything was automated. So it was, and it was like 3 a.m. or something. And I remember thinking I was dreaming it. Hello, everybody. My name is Wade Aunger. I'm the guy that talks funny. You guys are the ones with the accents, I always say, but we know that's not the truth. Welcome to Wednesday Nights with Wade. Wonderful to have your company. Looking forward to getting our late model on tonight where we're crossing to, I don't even know where he is. I just know he's on his way to Magnolia, Mississippi, so to speak, with Tim McCreadie. Now, I've got to mention too that the Lucas Oil Late Model Nationals is coming up on September 18 to 21 in 2021. So keep your eye out on the KnoxvilleRaceway.com website, also on the Facebook page and Instagram and Twitter as well. And please remember too, down the left-hand side, you can basically subscribe to The Dirt and get the newsletter that brings you up to speed with all the information on basically ticketing information, on dates, on the Denison Racing Tees winter range of apparel, which is currently on the market right now, just as things are starting to cool on down. Want to wish all of our friends across the world serving in the military, our Aussies, we call it Remembrance Day. You guys call it Veterans Day, of course. And I just want to thank past and present folks, men and women, and also animals who have served in the military to preserve our freedom. So big thank you to all of our friends here in Australia. We certainly appreciate our folks in the military. My dad served in the Royal Australian Air Force for over 20 years as a RAF policeman. So I know what it's like to be a military kid, although I certainly lack a bit of discipline. So let's do it. Let's find out where T-Mac is right now. There's been an accident. I just want to let you know in advance in case you're a bit lighthearted, a bit weak at the knees when you see blood. There's been a bit of an accident. So T-Mac is bearing the scars already of what's happened. I'll get him to explain. It could be gory. Let's just check in. There he is. T-Mac, welcome to Wednesday night. Welcome to Wednesday Nights with Wade, mate. How you doing? Now show me your thumb. What have you done?
Oh, I cut myself trying to mess around with this. My phone's been broke. I thought it was broke, but the screensaver was all cracked up. And when I turned the camera on, I'm like, oh my God, you can't even see through it. So I went to peel it off and slice my thumb open, but I'm gutting it out. I'm here playing hurt.
Yeah, oh, wow. And I appreciate that kind of, you're such a courageous man. Look, can I just say, can you imagine back in the day, you saying to your old man, hey, Dad, I cut my thumb on my cell phone cover. He would have been like really?
Yeah. Yeah, that wouldn't have that didn't fly in our house when I was a kid. That's for sure. But nowadays and I guess I can be like the younger guys. I can be soft like most of them. Younger guys, they get softer and softer every year, like Charmin.
Oh, this is good. We're just going to start, right off with a bit of, man, I'm really looking forward to talking with you. We got lots to get through. And of course, we're going to talk about your dad because that's an important part to everybody. And he's still revered as such a hero to so many people. I also want to talk about Jordan as well, because that racing program side of things and get everybody's head around what you're up to. But can I start with, where the heck are you right now?
I am actually in just below Cleveland in a hotel room, as you can see. I'm traveling to Mississippi, or going down to Magnolia to race down there. And unfortunately, when we said we were going to do this at first, I didn't know it was a Zoom. I thought I could just do it on the phone driving down the road, and so I cut the trip short. So now I got 11 and a half hours in the morning. I'll leave about 5:30 in the morning and finish it off for test night.
Sorry about that, mate.
That's all right.
I have some wonderful friends in a little place called Clinton in Mississippi. A friend of mine, Scott Slay, he came down and raced in Australia for us, and he's a great late model racer, since retired, but they used to call him the sleigh ride. And I always love that, we always like for a hook in Australia, we like a promotional hook. And he came down there with that beautiful Southern accent, and with the car being called the sleigh ride, you certainly couldn't miss with a promo like that, could you?
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. You know how it is. We could all use a little bit of edge to get us, whether it's more fans, a little more craziness, T-shirt sales, all of it adds up. So yeah, that's pretty unique way of doing it. That's for sure. Speaking
of T-shirts, I'm rolling my Methanol Moonshine hoodie, which is available through methanolmoonshinemerch.com. We are distributing all of our tanks and our tees and our singlets. It's a new brand. You know what? With COVID messing up my whole racing world down here, Tim, I was like, what am I going to do? And we come up with a moonshine of all things called Methanol Moonshine, and threw some merch range at it. So sometimes you have to veer around the road. But what are you wearing right now?
I got my side shirt on, right? I mean, if you're going to support anybody, I have two sprint shirts. Well, I used to have three. I had, obviously, when I was a kid, I had Wolfgang shirts. And then as I got older, because he beat us so much in the Chili Bowl, I had some Swindell material. And then, and obviously the two shirts that I carry with me wherever I go is a side shirt and obviously a Donnie Schatz shirt. So, you got to support the guys that I hang out with. Whenever they see me, they treat me like I've known them for 20 years. And so I try to do the same. It's cool. I mean, I just happen to have it in my bag, and I thought, I'll wear it on the way down here. If I'm going to get on a show that has something to do with Knoxville Speedway or anything like that, I'll put it on and show you guys who I cheer for.
Every year we do a thing with the Sides Bar and Grill where we check out their hauler and what improvements they've made to it, and, kitting it out with a full bar. And last year they put a swimming pool in there. And as you know, with Jason and Paul Sides, anything can happen, Tim.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I remember we met them. Obviously, when I used to run Outlaws full time, we had the banquets together. Like they they obviously not this year, but they usually have them together. And a lot of the sprint car guys would, like, as soon as this thing hit the end and the end of the banquet was over, they'd run right out the door, and we'd never see any of them. I don't know if it's just the way they are or they can't ever slow down. But Jason and his brother hung out with a lot of us late model guys, and we just kind of all took to each other. And I've seen them, wherever we cross paths. And I raced with them at the Chili Bowl one year as a teammate, and just great people. I mean, honestly, would give you the shirt off their back, both of them, and the entire team. I mean, all of them are just, like I said, if I'm going to end up somewhere where I'm going to be stranded for a little while, that's who I want to be with.
Well, and particularly this year, we all need to keep our sense of humor intact, Tim, because it's been rough on everybody on a number of levels. So guys like Worldwide and Jason and also Gravy, I can't forget Gravy, what an amazing part of. And, if they're going to hire a guy to drive their other car, they're going to hire Tim Kading, aren't they? Because there's another guy who would have fun at a funeral, Tim.
Yeah, and then they all race good. I mean, it's not like, everybody has their ups and downs throughout this, and make no mistake, when the track's right and everything's going good, both of them, Tim and Jason, they're threats. They've always been threats to win. It's just sometimes the way the sport goes left or right, it takes some of us a little while. I'm like them. It takes me a little while to catch back up sometimes, and hopefully you make the right decisions and go. But yeah, I mean, you can't. I'm probably guilty at the racetrack of being a little maybe too. I don't know if it's negative or just ornery, but those guys will keep you happy at the end of the night. I mean, we can all be focused for the 6-7 hours we do it throughout the night, but once it's over with, man, you gotta learn to let go a little bit, because this thing can drive you crazy if you let it.
You obviously are across a wide variety. You and I, before we came on, we talked about, Kyle Larson and things like that. You're obviously across all disciplines of dirt racing, whilst your focus is late models. In '96, I worked at Flag City Motorsports Park in Findlay, Ohio, and got to hang out a lot with a guy called Ron Miller in Toledo. And Ron always called the sprint cars the tumble bunnies. So I guess the tumble bunnies will be coming out real soon. It seems like most people are one way or the other, Tim, like they're either passionate late model or passionate sprint car. You seem to be a bit of each.
I mean, that might be more new age, I guess. Like, there's no secret. I'm not young by any stretch of imagination. And I grew up watching Kinzer and Wolfgang and all them guys run. And then when Dave Blaney come along, because he was close, and my dad knew his father real well. And we just saw everybody run. You saw Williams Grove was only 3.5, 4 hours from my house, and Lincoln and all them places. So for me, I'd open up the area auto once a week or the Gator Racing News, and you would see everybody, whether it was Freddie Raymer, who drove big blocks for a while and then started winning the sprint cars, or whoever you wanted to support, even non-wing USAC guys and Thursday Night Thunder and everything. It was, in my opinion, it was the best time to be around motorsports, because you saw a lot of disciplines, because ESPN was new and they were just putting things on that I thought people would really enjoy. And being a racer like myself, and my dad would talk about when the sprint car guys came to town, and they would, joke back and forth and hang out a little bit, and then they would be gone. And when I started driving late models, it really was, I think guys like Rick Eckert, they paid attention to everybody, and that's just kind of been my way. I mean, maybe nowadays and the internet can drum up about anything if you really wanted to. So it's probably more just because it just gets a rise out of people for somebody to say, oh, sprints or late models. And I know this, like, you take the best guys in each division, and they can drive any car if you give them enough time and put them in the right situation. So for me, it was just, I'm a fan. Like, I sat in the stands for a long, long time before I drove a race car. So I'm no different than people, like I said, when you're sitting in that stands on a Saturday night. That was me till I didn't start racing a real race car until I was in my mid-20s. So I was running go-karts and things like that at 21 years old. So, it's I like them all. I enjoy everybody, and I hope they enjoy me too.
I love that people are so passionate about their part of the world and about their part of dirt. When I went to Orange County in New York, I went and saw a modified. Brett Hearn was running that night, I think, in the Auto Palace car, and the McDonald's and the URC sprints were running there, because I had friends that were from Delaware that were running. And when the URC cars came out, that was the hot dog break. And I was like, but where's everybody going? The sprint cars are on, but that was modified territory, and that upstate New York area in particular, that is the home, isn't it, in a lot of cases of big block modified racing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not much different than sprint cars, except it's in a way concentrated area, from Pennsylvania, northern Pennsylvania, up to obviously Quebec, across the border, Cornwall, all them places. There's guys, like when I was first racing, there was guys that had 500 plus wins that have made a career. There's probably 6, 7, 8 of them, whether it was Danny Johnson, Jack Johnson, my dad, obviously Brett Hearn, all them guys, they'd made a living at this. And when we started racing, these guys were no joke, and they put it on you. So it's just kind of the way that the niche fell. And it was crazy, because the sprints would come in, and we would be the beginning class. We'd run a 30 lapper at, say, Rolling Wheels or Weedsport or wherever. And they'd pop in, and then they'd leave, and we'd go back to running for big money after they left. But it's a unique area. I mean, I still love doing it. I don't do it as much as I'd like to, obviously, just because financially it's tough. It's tough to run modifieds 60, 70 times a year and run for the purses they run for. I mean, the bad part about racing is we all deserve more money, and unfortunately it's not there. And hopefully yeah, it might be long after I'm gone, but hopefully it'll just disperse more and more as years go on, and guys will get better purses to race for.
You mentioned Weed Sport New York. A good friend of mine from Australia, Peter Britton, is doing a great job over in the US. He's one of the few Aussies. I mean, Aussies go over and race sprint cars, and we have done for 40 years. That's no big thing. It's not unusual for us. But Peter's doing some really groundbreaking stuff running over there, you know, in big block and also the 358 stuff, and doing a great job. How tough is modified racing?
Oh, I mean, it's just like anything. It's anytime you have guys that can make a career out of something and not have to move around, and then they get with the right team and they can test and practice and do things like that. I mean, it's nothing. I mean, you look at a guy like, say, Matt Shepard, who has won, I think a couple of years ago, he won 45 plus races. And then this year, he might only won 20. And Stuart Friesen, who drives trucks for a living and pops in and runs modifieds. It's no different. I mean, in my opinion, you know, it doesn't mean much. It's just my opinion, but it's tough. Late models, sprints, and modifieds are the three divisions. They're the three dirt divisions that are by far the toughest. And you know, I know maybe not everybody likes it, but it's the truth. I mean, I've driven them all, and it depends on what night you go. I mean, I can take you to the middle of Pennsylvania for a sprint race with the Outlaws, and there's a lot of guys going to be hurt feelings at the end of the night that are good when nobody's around, and I can take you them same guys up to a big block show, and they're going to struggle, or a late model. I mean, we all have our benefits, and the beauty of it is man, like from my perspective, the beauty of it is why wouldn't you want to see them all? I mean, putting up a wall and saying, oh, you know, just because you can't go as fast as me and I got a lighter car, it's harder. They're all hard. I don't care what anybody says. I've done everything but a wing sprint car, and they're all hard.
The last call, great result for you at a place that you've always wanted to win at Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I've been going there a lot. I was telling Matt Long, unfortunately, they had issues with the dust, and they're going to hopefully fix it, because I think every one of us likes going there. We might not like the whole package, but the event is pretty big, and it's pretty cool to have all them people there and things like that. And this year, obviously not, but I was going there when they started the big block race, and I think the first year the dirt track was built, we ran big blocks during the auto fair, which was in early April. So I've run there, and then the Jan King late model races I would go to, I've been running there for a long time, and I had some success. Obviously, we've been fortunate to win a lot of races in the big block there, and this late model was just tough. We just couldn't win. We could run fifth, second, fourth all the time, and just never could win. And lo and behold, I guess maybe having the fans not there and nobody else running on a Wednesday or Thursday night gave us a little bit of luck to get it done, and that made everybody happy. My owner, Gina and Donald Brashear, or Bradshaw, they did this whole deal on a whim and let me drive this car this year, and it's been a dream come true.
We're going to talk about that team in a minute. I got to show people this picture, and I'm hoping it'll come up on the screen relatively clear. So I don't know if you can see this picture at all yet, mate. Can you tell me where that picture is and who's involved in that picture?
Well, I think, by looking at the Molson and stuff, I think it's in Canada, but obviously the Joe Plays the white suited driver, and then Danny Johnson in the Troyer car, and then my dad, and then that's me standing beside him, I guess, trying to look cool. I don't know what I was trying to do there, but I was around, man, since I was little at all these shows and went everywhere. So it's pretty neat that you sent it to me earlier, and I forgot. Somebody had shown me that earlier this year, and it's funny because my son, who's 10 now, actually crosses his arms just like this. So it must be a family thing. We must all do it. You
either look pissed off and you're bored, or you kind of like, this is me just hanging with these guys because, that's how I roll. But I got to thank Tom Schmay for sending me that picture. And I want to talk about Tom for a minute. He relayed to me, Tom, from who for many years was an incredible part of the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, did an amazing job at the museum in the Hall of Fame. And he sent me a bit of a story about his brother, Jim, who was a huge fan of yours. And Jim passed away in December of last year. And he said to me, Tom said in the message that Tim didn't know my brother, but my brother knew Tim very well. And it occurred to me, and he relayed this really cool photo to me as well here, mate, which is, this is in a meat market in New York, in Owego, New York. That picture is what you signed for Jim one night. And it ended up in this meat market, this little obscure meat market. And God, then I had to write the name of it down because the name of it was John's Sure Fine Foods in Owego, in New York. So if he's watching, but that little picture ended up in a meat market that's hanging up. You as a race car driver, like a musician, like an artist, like an actor, you end up influencing people. You'll drive away out of that racetrack that night and go on about your business, but it impacts people for life, Tim.
I mean, that is really cool. I don't get to see it as much. And honestly, I try not to, it's not that I try not to pay attention. It's just, I'm no different than I was growing up. And believe me, man, it is very humbling to have anybody want my autograph or anybody want to talk to me, just because this stuff, I don't think any of us get into it to try to be famous. You know what I mean? It's like just kind of how I grew up doing it. And a lot of guys are the same way, their family's done it. You go to the races and stay in hotel rooms when you're younger and you get to, it just is like fun. It was my idea. It was our family's way of camping. I mean, we didn't camp with tents. We just camped every Saturday and Sunday at Canandaigua and Weedsport on Sundays and Brewerton or Ranceville, New York on Fridays and did it every weekend. And so to have anybody be happy that I take time to be with them, it's cool. It's very cool. And it's also very humbling. Unique story. Like when I first went to Knoxville and I met, of all people, AJ, I met AJ at the bar and we become super tight, like super, super tight. And he took me in town and they had sprint car pictures in this one restaurant all over the place. And in one corner, there's a picture of my dad racing in Australia with the USA car. Yes. Yeah. The same deal. And like, how on earth would this picture? And I know Australians love sprint cars and they come over and all this, but how on earth this picture of him racing a big block modified in Australia ended up in the Knoxville, Iowa local restaurant on the wall is truly humbling. And I know that it's not easy, but I do appreciate all the fans. I really do. And I try my best. I'm not always good at it, but I try my best to give everybody time.
AJ, he kind of reminds me of this. It almost seems like he should be in Dude Who Stole My Car. A guy that's kind of on his way with the surfboard on the roof, going to Malibu, and ends up in Midwestern America owning a bar called Dingus, which is one of the world's most famous places. But he's such a cool-looking critter. Always got the gun show, always got the hair out. Literally looks like he's looking for the next wave. And yet you wouldn't meet a more diehard sprint car fan. The guy's just wide open.
Yeah, and his knowledge is amazing. He's a true supporter of all of us. And the reason we met, how we met was a Sunday night. We got there a week early for the late model nationals, and me and Rick Eckert, and we just went in there on a Sunday night, and he happened to be in there and just sat down for 20 minutes. And next thing you know, we're there every night. And next thing you know, we're coming a week and a half early. And AJ is truly one of my closest friends, and I know a lot of people say that because I'm sure that he is so engaging, and Alice is great, and everybody else is there, and but I truly, he's helped me through some stuff over the years when I was in trouble, and I know that if he needed me, I'd be there, and vice versa. And he's one of my closest buddies, and it's crazy. We live too far apart, which is probably also a good thing.
Exactly. Otherwise, your liver wouldn't be able to take it. September 18 to 21 is the Lucas Oils Late Model Nationals in 2021. So that means you'll get there around about July, working on that theory.
Yeah. Hopefully not. I mean, if I'm smart, I get there on Thursday, the day of the show is probably my smartest move. But
August 11 to 14, that'd be the date, mate. A roll up at August 11 to 14, because then you get to see the Knoxville Nationals, the nice energy drink. Knoxville Nationals would be a good one to get there for as well. Just saying.
Oh, I'd love to go. I've never been, and I hear the stories, and I've obviously walked into the grandstands and seen the pictures of everybody that's won and all that stuff. It would be amazing for me personally to see that many people in the grandstands, just because we don't get that kind of crowd. I mean, at Eldora we get crowds. You see the 50, I think the 50-50 we were there last time was 80, 85, $86,000. So when we go to Eldora, we get this crowd, but man, we go to Knoxville. It would be neat one time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to, because usually I'm at Florence for the North South or Cedar Lake or whatever their dates fall on, and they're all $50,000 win shows. So it's hard to, And I'm getting probably too old to try a sprint car just because, I got 2 young kids. The last thing I probably want to do is have an issue, because these things are, they're wild animals, them cars. I know everybody, I don't think everybody truly understands what division you're in. We're all these cars are all hard to drive, but them things are fast. They're like a rocket engine on 4 wheels, with rope steering like the old days.
I'd love to see you do this, and I don't know that you ever have, because I saw your motorhome, one of the 2 motorhomes that your incredible team has. That thing rolling out of the workshop just looked unbelievable. But I'm wondering if it's possible that you can roll into a racetrack one day in an old station wagon with an open trailer, just once, Tim, like your old man did. Just fill it up with crap in the back, like right to the edge of the windows, and roll in with an old station wagon like your dad would. Man, that would just bring the place to its knees.
I don't know if we'll do it. We could do it in a late model just because it's so far from home. But there's a ramp truck literally 2 miles from my house that I drive by a lot that I'm looking to maybe I might buy it just so I can me and my boy can redo it. And it's only got 1 tire rack. So I don't know if we could go very far with the big blocks, but it'd be cool to, my dad had open trailers and a ramp truck. That's how I learned to weld, is on his trailer. He was like, if you want to start racing and do some things, you need to fix this old 1982 trailer he's got out in the weeds. And that's how I welded. I welded the rust spots up and plated it, and then hit it with a paint roller. So it's it's very fortunate. I've lived a fortunate life. Even though when I get down, and it's easy because I want to win. I want to win so bad that it makes me mental. But I've been very fortunate, and a lot of it is because of my mother and father, especially my dad went in and being successful opened the door for me to get a chance to maybe get some things other guys couldn't get. And that's pretty cool. And you should be thankful, right? No matter how you get there, whether it's because you have money, because you're broke, because you work hard, it's once you get there, man, enjoy it and be thankful, because they can all end really quick.
484 wins across 54 racetracks, around about 30 years worth. To you, he's just your dad, right? Like, he's dad. But to so many people, he's Barefoot Bob McCreadie. He's an icon of our industry. Do you ever get a sense of that? Or is it every day someone come up and tell you, hey, I remember when your dad, that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah. It doesn't matter where I go. It's been like that since I started racing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. He, like you just read all those numbers off, and I'm nowhere near where he's at, and everybody considers me very successful at my job and doing really well, and I'd have to add another 200 plus, maybe more races to even get to where he's at. So in my opinion, I was, as a kid growing up, it was normal. Like, if we didn't win, it was a bad night. And like I was telling you earlier, I think over his entire career, I think he averaged 25 or 27 wins a year. So there wasn't many years where we were under 10 wins. And if we had a bad year, it was miserable for everybody, because his drive to win is 10 times as far as intensity of what I am. I've learned to, I guess I got a little bit of my mother in me where I can learn to take a step back, but he was very demanding of himself and demanding of all the people and all that. And I think that's what it takes, but it's the coolest thing about him is, like, say when I ran the Chili Bowl, I went out there and I met Emmett and Lanny for the first time. And both of them were like, hey, is your dad coming? And I'm like, man, how do these guys really even know this guy? And then obviously Lenny was like, he went to Devil's Bowl years ago when the Dirt Series come through in 1985, and that's how we met. And then my dad did come out. I think it was 2011. My dad did come out with me, and we pull in the building, and the first thing, they rolled up on a golf cart, and the first thing they were is looking for him. And that's cool, because this sport is, like I said, it's always competitive, and once you're gone, it's nice to know that you're not all the way forgotten, because that can happen. But it's cool that I go all over and they say, man, I watch your dad on Speed Channel, or I watch your dad on this. And that just keeps me, I try to tell him, because he thinks sometimes that people don't remember, and it's not that but it's, I keep telling him, I said, man, they ask about you more than they ask about what I'm doing. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
There's a few urban myths about why barefoot Bob, and I read one just before that, that he couldn't fit his foot into the the well of where the throttle was, so there wasn't room for his boots, and then I saw a quote that just said that he was always running around without a t-shirt and shoes on as a teenager. Can you shed any light? Is that what it was?
Well, I mean, I've heard them all. I know he was barefoot a lot as a little kid and growing up. And obviously in his book, I mean, he has his book there, and basically what they did build a car that they ran at Lafargeville Speedway or Can-Am up north. And his foot, this is long before me, obviously, but the foot wouldn't fit in the brake pedal.
Right.
And they go out and they run. So he just took his shoe off and he won that night. And that's kind of how it went. But, I tell him all the time, is that really true? And he says it is. In the 70s, people did some crazy stuff. It's nothing we would do today. That's probably why a lot of us can keep racing longer, because these old guys, man, I'm telling you, they were heroes. I mean, heroes to us growing up, and just icons. And I know you say that we are to other people, and it's cool, but I still see them guys like Jack Johnson and my dad, and just the way they were and how hard they worked. And when they broke bones, they raced the same weekend. And when they, I broke my back and took 8 months off. My dad broke his back and raced all year with looking for a fusion at the end of the year. So it's those guys are tough, man. Those guys are the pioneers for all of us.
And it was a different era too, a different time, Tim, in a lot of ways. And even back in 96, when I was at Finley, there was a guy, I'll never forget, a bright orange late model. And he had that old school helmet with just like that clear face mask. It wasn't a full face deal. It was kind of just like down. And he had a hole drilled in the front of it under yellows. He'd be having a smoke, and you go, can you even get your head around that anymore? And that was in the 90s, mate, let alone the 70s and 80s.
No, it's so different than what it used to be. We ran radios for 200 lap dirt big block races, and we'd be on them, and it would be as serious could be, unless my dad was good enough and he'd get 10, 15 car length lead. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just starts singing. He just starts singing for 15 laps, singing different songs, joking around. But boy, if it was the other way, it was, I mean, we were racing a pavement show up in Saint Air, up in Quebec, and he was struggling and had to pit. And man, I'll tell you what, like your radios were like this, they're screaming at you, so it's, those guys are amazing. Like I was on radios and people tell me that I shouldn't be, because I'm just bad to everybody, but I don't know how they did it, all of them. And it's like, I try as much as I can to pay attention when books come out of guys that did it. Cause not that our stuff's bland, because it isn't, none of it's bland, but man, the stuff they did back then is, it'll never happen again. Technology's too good that, it's hard to, like I watched a sprint race Friday, and Blaney had the wing on crooked or tipped like he used to years ago. And you just don't get that anymore. It's just, I don't know if it's the rules package or what it is. Even our late models, you don't see it. And if they are doing something, it's so hard to see. In those days, man, it just, when bodies were different, it just was a cool time. And this is cool too, because the races, every bit as good, and the guys are every bit as good, but it was just a unique era.
Dave Argabright has some phenomenal books that he's written. The Brad Doty book, Still Wide Open, is just an absolute must. And so is Hewitt's Law. I mean, Jack Hewitt, there's another guy. You're a Wolfgang fan, and you throw the three biggies in there. And it was actually a race at Knoxville, and I forget what year it was. Someone can correct me. I'm going to say it was in the mid 80s, might have even been late 80s. It was a day show, been rained out, and they did a 3-wide, 3-lap match race between the Wolf, Sammy, and the King. And they just started them up 1, 2, 3 wide, 3 laps, throw the yellow, 3 laps, throw the yellow. Do you know who won that one?
Hopefully Wolfgang.
Yes, sir. Yes,
hey,
sir.
I have the one problem sprint car fans and I have is probably the Wolfgang, just because he didn't always run, but in my opinion, he is the best. I shouldn't say the best because it's tough, but there's those three guys they were the big three. And then obviously, like I said, I know he's a buddy of mine, and we were talking earlier. I don't think Shotzi gets as much credit as he deserves for having the record he has, and maybe a little bit of it is partly he's introverted and he doesn't really put himself out there. He'll get away from people, and you see a whole different side of that guy than you see when he's at the track. And I mean, I don't think I'm saying anything that everybody knows, but he's a great individual, and his family's same deal. And really, like, that's the beauty of racing. No matter how much you dislike a guy or have a problem on the track, most of us, when we're broke down on the side of the highway or have an issue, we do pick each other up, and that we need more of that in the entire world. And I don't want to sound like that guy, but we really do. I mean, people could take lessons from all of us of how to treat people.
It's I'm watching a thing last night on YouTube. God bless YouTube, Tim, because there's so much amazing stuff there on Ricky Johnson, actually, like on his career, the glamour boy from California and bad boy. And he was saying that he would sit there for hours signing autographs afterwards, but don't come anywhere near him before the race. Like, he's like, when I'm tuned in and I'm ready to go, I'm this. And that's what Donnie is. When Donnie's at the racetrack, he is this. And there's people I don't bother talking to in my role as an infield announcer unless I know it's the right time. And I respect that for Donnie, that his intensity is what's made him who he is. Afterwards, like you said, he's a very cool, laid-back cat, but different people have different ways of doing it. You can walk up to Jack Hodenshield just before he pushes off and shake his hand. Yeah. But that's what makes our sport so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm a little bit like that. Listen, I get as ornery as anybody, and sometimes, and it's not the fans' fault. I mean, they don't, like you said earlier, if they don't get to see a lot, and then they come in and they feel like this might be their only chance, because when the night ends, you might leave, the cars leave, whatever happens. And so they come up, and a lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes it's just at the wrong time. And most of the time fans can see by the look in your eye, but sometimes they still to come in, and I'm okay. I mean, my it maybe even helps a little bit, because my frustration level might get even higher, because I'm like, son of a bitch, man, is it really? Like, I'm thinking, really, right now I am literally trying to get in this car, and you got 3 die casts, but also, I could realize that without racing, I might be working, who knows? I mean, I could be working a low-level job and taking orders. Who knows what I could be doing? And I guarantee it wouldn't be as much money as I'm making driving this race car. So sometimes for me, I just try to do my best to not offend people. And I don't know if that's always true, but I try my best not to offend people, because I just know I saw it as a kid. I mean, I know a lot of people probably don't know who Merv Trichler is, but he was a big-time modified driver who actually won, like, I guess it was the Busch Series back then at Daytona. He won Daytona. He won all over. I think I got his autograph probably 50 weekends in a row at Canandaigua Speedway when I was like 8 years old. So, he just kept saying, seriously, what are you doing with these things? And I just, go get the autograph. So it just, it's not easy. That's what's unique about our whole deal. I mean, just imagine trying to go to nowadays to a Formula One race and even get near Lewis Hamilton or anybody. I mean, they'd probably tackle you down and beat you with a stick, So, But I also know guys I grew up with that are older than me have pictures at Watkins Glen in the early 70s where they were at the bar with these guys, and the cars are all apart. You could walk through the pit area, and I think so that's what's good about our dirt sport, is that you can do it. I mean, everybody's been to Quebec that races and knows that a Quebec fan is as passionate as anybody. A French Canadian, they might lay under the car and change the gears without you even knowing it. That's it. But we need it. We need it all, man. It's we need it all. And then I'm gonna ride on the wave as long as I can until they kick me out.
Tell me about Jordan's career. Tell me about your brother's racing, because he's pretty stout, and I think he's still running 358 stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah, my brother never really raced that much or at all. Like where we grew up in Watertown, the shop was hooked to the house, and then as we got older, he's so much younger than me. He just turned 30, and I'm 46, so I'm 16 years older. So I was an only child for a long time. And then my sister came along, and then my brother came along. And so we moved outside of town, and he'd go sit in the stands. Like that was the thing as our family. Like my mother was in the stands and the kids were in the stands, and you just didn't go in the pit area until you got old enough that you either could buy your pit pass or contribute a little bit without being in the way. So that's just how we were raised. So he never, as my dad kind of got where he got hurt a little bit and wasn't racing as much, Jordan didn't really go as much. And the craziest thing is like 19, he brings his buddies down and he wants to change the oil in their car. And he thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Like, I'm changing everybody's oil in town. It's like, hey, and then he just like, I think it was mid-20s. He was like, I think I can afford a sportsman car. And I'm like, Jordan, you've never raced anything ever. And he's like, oh, I'd like to try it. And I tell people all the time, I know people thought I had natural ability doing this, but the entire neighborhood that I grew up in either had 3-wheelers, go-karts, and raced. Like when we were little kids, all the way up, never raced like all the way over like go-karts, like they do now. I'm talking, went to this guy's backyard and we put tires up and we raced all day and all night. So he jumps into sportsman car and can shift it into high gear, which I thought was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. Just the fact that, because if anybody's ever driven a modified or a late model, and you can ask Kyle Larson, I was there when he first pulled out before the rainstorm hit the test for the first time, and he couldn't get it. I'm like, oh my God, Kevin, he's going to tear the transmission out of this thing. And it's just because he was trying to shift it like a regular car. He was pulling it out of low gear and revving the motor up like you would a clutch. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going bad. But my brother put it in high gear and went. I thought, look at that. He just drove right out of there. And so he's struggled a little bit, but he's got 7-8 years of racing under his belt. And I had at his age 18, as a little kid, driving everything in sight, and he's got good owners behind him now where they give him equipment good enough to run. And I think he's got 3-4 wins this year. He's done really well. Like for a kid that never drove anything till he was 25 years old, besides a road car up the street, I think it's amazing to see what he does personally, but also I'm biased because he's my brother and I love him.
That's cool, man. I'm glad you speak of him like that. Tell me about your mum. Like every racing mum is an unsung hero to me.
Yeah, she's quiet and she went a lot. Like I told you, I don't think I'd have to ask my dad and her. I don't remember my mother ever in the pits one time. I remember at Wheatsport growing up when I was 12, 10 years old and sitting in the stands with her every Sunday night or whatever night we went. And her and her friends and like I said, all the crew guys, all their wives or girlfriends were in the stands. That was kind of how they did things. So to sit there and do that and then just kind of take a step back and be as supportive as she was, and then take me as a kid, like I played hockey and in every sport you could play growing up, and she would take me everywhere because my dad would either be doing something or and he would go, but he couldn't get there for the practices all the time. And it's just it's crazy. Like I'm very fortunate to have 2 family members that have been together forever, and I mean, I was probably the reason they're together, I guess, because like they weren't married right before I was born, so it's the quote unquote shotgun wedding, I guess, So it's but for them, it's cool because like she's always been so supportive and very quiet, but also everybody, from what I understand, everybody thinks my mom's pretty cool, so I think she is too, and she's. Like I said, I couldn't ask for 2 better parents. I mean, my dad never pushed me to race. He really didn't, and neither did she. And I was doing, like I said, I was running go-karts and fooling around and just doing whatever as a kid. And then I got a real job, like a 40 minimum hour a week job. And I thought, well, let's do this. And my dad didn't really think it was a smart move, but I didn't care. I'm like anybody. When you're in your 20s, you can write your own way, man. And then once I got where he knew I was serious, both of them, they've been there for me my whole life. They're the first calls I make whenever anything important in my life's going on, almost 100% of the time.
I know that you're a Horns man. I know that you are the official house car of the Longhorn late model icon. Well, I shouldn't call it an icon because that's a Barry Wright, but a giant, if you know what I mean. But I am going to make you watch one Rocket video when this is over. There's a lot of Rocket in it. I was telling you about that song, that Miles to Go song by my buddy Marshall Lowry Band. Get across it. It's an amazing video clip. A lot of it was shot at Lernerville, but it's about a guy traveling on the road. He's got miles to go before he sleeps. It's kind of exactly what you're doing right now. It's what every race car driver who goes pro or wants to go pro would do, and any long distance truck driver. You're doing it right now. You've got a family, a young family as well, and you are trying to do the balance between living your dream, providing for your family, and spending enough time with your family. That's got to be tough sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because and my wife is great. She's a great mother, and but she didn't really come from the racing background. So the toughest part is anytime I get home, I feel like I upset the apple cart a little bit because I'm looking to do a lot of things, and we do some stuff, but it's just hard. It's just very hard because my son's getting older every day, and he goes with me when he can. And this year's just been different, and my wife and I have talked about what to do under the circumstance of this, and our move was to just keep them three safe and let me go out and do what I got to do to try and earn as much money as possible, just in case, God forbid, we have to sit at home for any period of time anymore. But like I come home and it's like, it's bliss for me. It's nice to go home and be a part of everybody and not have to always be in racing. I mean, that is kind of the unique part about what I go home and we don't really have to talk about racing. We do, obviously, but we don't have to really engage in it as much as, which is nice for me. I mean, maybe that helps me come out and be excited about doing it. If I did it 99% of my day, maybe I'd be, ornery about it. But also, you're talking to me after a great year. So you catch me 2-3 years ago when I was struggling to put money in the bank to get through the winter, I might not have been as happy as I am right now. So you'd have to ask them, but it's I have a great family, totally supportive, and hopefully next year we can get everybody out to have more fun at the track than just me.
When you roll out to Knoxville Raceway and you pull out onto turn 1 and turn 2 and you come out of that center and you roll down the back stretch and you get ready to take the green, even in a hot lap session, do you still catch yourself going, holy cow, I'm at the world headquarters of sprint car racing and running my late model like a badass?
Yeah, I mean, the big, for me personally, the biggest events that we run in the late models, we're very fortunate where we have, I forget the exact number, but there's at least 5, 6, 7 races that pay 50,000 and up. And then there's a bunch of 30s. So like you go to anywheres, whether it's Knoxville, it's 40 grand to win there. You go to Eldora or Lernerville or the same places the sprints go to, and you roll out at these places when the people are there. And it's just it's bliss. I mean, it's exactly what we're trying to do. And that fades a little bit, obviously, depending on the speed of the car, like whether you're fast or whether you're not.
Yeah.
I still sit there and wait at the beginning of the night when we first roll into Knoxville, and I'm like, look at this place. I mean, and like I said, the only drawback for us is the fact that we can't put the people in, and that's understandable. I mean, sprints are the deal there, and they it would be so cool before I'm done to see a full front grandstand. So we've been close. I mean, we've probably been half full or maybe a little more, but it would be so cool to get it there. And I think that's kind of like, if we can get some crossbreeding, like the Larson deal was nice, or even just get crossbreeding, like there's nothing wrong with having 410s and late models together, or whatever division sprints are, or even some I don't understand. I never understood the whole point of, it's a USAC show over here, so you can't bring wing sprinters in. I guess I don't understand that. I mean, it'd be like going to the fair and never, you're only allowed to eat corn dogs today. Only corn dogs, no fried dough. Like, no, nothing. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think promoters, if we want to have events where everybody can get paid, we need to try to bring more people in and open people's minds to many of our sports, because it doesn't matter what you do, man. Every one of us is trying as hard as we can. Yeah. And every one of us is good at our job. when we're driving these cars, whether it's a pure stock all the way up to a full blown Formula One car, wing sprinter, NASCAR, whatever you want to talk about. And we need to get us all together so we can put more rear ends in the seats to get more people paid to make these things events. I mean, we need to check into like what the off-road trucks do and things like that, where they just have these events where, Supercross, stuff like that. I mean, we need to start looking into things like that. And I think the guys are doing that. It's just, I wish it would happen quicker. Cause like I'm what is it? I'm like, what is it? That movie, the old movie, Semi-Pro, ELE. Everybody love everybody. I'm all about ELE. That's what I'm about.
I see. I'm seeing in the future here for you, Tim, that maybe a bit of promoting, because you have a pretty good grasp of what you think a fan would want to see, and you understand the race car driver and probably team owner perspective as well. So I would think down the road, maybe even promoting a couple of races of yourself, mate.
I don't know. It seems to me when you slide out of the driver's seat or the owner's seat and start promoting, I don't know what happens, because something happens and all of a sudden you're nothing like you used to be. So I'm going to do me, and I'm going to stay me. And I doubt I could handle. It's way easier to sit here and talk to you and tell you what's wrong with the world than it is to have 50 guys telling you that, look, dude, you're doing everything wrong. And you have a snap decision to figure out how to do it right. I'm more of a, I can, my whole career is based off of what did I do wrong the day before and try to fix it. So it's I don't think I could be that guy, but I'll tell you this, I could be a guy that could tell you what I like and add to the program and say, hey, what's wrong with getting the show done before 10 o'clock to have whatever band there or to try to get the fans into the races and whatever it is. I mean, you just got to look around. I mean, honestly, you need to look around, and things are successful for a reason.
Yep.
And there's no reason you can't bring some of that over to what we're doing. That's all. I mean, how to do it is up to guys way smarter than me, because I just want to show up and race. That's what I want to do. That's
the beauty. And I hope one day you can somehow get to the Nationals, Tim, because the beauty of the Knoxville Nationals is that it is a party where a race breaks out. It's an event where you see everyone that you love in every part of a small town doing something different or doing something the same every day, whether it's at Dingus, whether it's across the road at Hy-Vee when you bump into someone getting ice for your cooler, or whether it's hanging out at Atlantic Pacific pub having a couple of cocktails, or getting yourself checked out of the big concrete building in the center of the square from sleeping over the night before. It's about the community getting together. And that's what I love about our sport, Tim. It's our community. And the Nationals has that. It has this, it's like Christmas for sprint car fans.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched it every year that they show it, and a lot of times we'll be either done just because of the time breakdown. We might be done where we can put it on the internet and watch it, obviously, because of the internet anymore.
Yeah.
I get to see a lot of races like I used to, like I was telling you earlier, like when you watch races from, IRP on a Thursday night, it was midgets one week, then sprints, and then you watch the Silver Crown race on ESPN, or you watch Big Block Modifieds. Or Diamond P Sports. It was truly cool, and I would love to see more of. I mean, obviously you can't take Knoxville everywhere because not everybody's. You just can't do it. I mean, it's a unique thing, but there is always like little things of all this you can, and some of it is just like I said. It might be sitting there right in front of you, and you just need to just stop worrying about what the drawbacks are and see what you can do to make things an advantage. And like I said, it sounds easy coming from me in a hotel room at 9 at night, but especially after I've had half of a Crown and Coke, so I'm, one more, and who knows what I might want to tell you we could do. But, it's, I'm just a fan. Like I said, I am still and I know it sounds like it's stupid, but I'm still the kid that sat up in the stands, and I still enjoy, like I hung out with Shots after was it a Wednesday night when he ran third, and he was genuinely content that and he's good in the late model. I mean, and it's taken a little while, but he didn't do it. He did it the hard way. He did the way I did it. He bought a late model car and thought, okay, I'm going to do this, and didn't really have I know when he did a sprint car, it was different, but like when he did this late model, he just bought this car and it was like, okay, I'll just call Mark Richards up and ask him how to put these springs together one day and I'll do it. He didn't jump in like the best car in the pit area or put it in a certain direction. He just, so it takes a little while when you do it that way. And so we hung out all night and I think we slowed him down the next day and because we hung out all night, but at the end of the day, like, I just think it's cool that we all can, I don't get into the what's better or not. I get into, I measure how my success is by what my bank account says. So I feel like we might not be as good as all of them, but I can make my payments all winter, and that's pretty cool.
And it's always a 4-letter word, mate. No matter what we're doing on it, it's dirt. That's what it all comes back to, mate. That's what we're all bonded by. It's what took your dad to Australia, whose picture now hangs in Knoxville, Iowa, running a modified in Australia. And that's the beauty of it. You're going to be in Magnolia, Mississippi, as they say. There's a few S's get dropped out when you say that. Mate, I'm excited for you for this weekend, testing with your new car effectively. And you've got a great team. And those people obviously put an enormous amount into what you do. I can't thank you enough for the hour we spent tonight. I'm sorry you busted your thumb up. It's pretty dangerous.
No, I'm good. We're healed up. We're healthy to go.
I love this. I love this side shirt. I am going to send you my methanol moonshine gear though as well, because I reckon you look pretty cool rolling a bit of the black stuff. So check out methanolmoonshinemerch.com. Tim, you're fantastic, mate. You are such a great talent with this stuff. You are, man. Like, we had Rico on here recently. He was fantastic. We had Carson McCarlin here. He was fantastic. We had a couple Knoxville boys last weekend, in Jamie Ball and Tommy Johnson. And we've had so many great people on here, Brady Bacon. And that's what I love, mate, is people. The things we drive are great, but it's the people that makes our sport, man. I can't thank you enough for tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it was, like I said, I didn't know, I told you earlier, I didn't know it was going to be a video Zoom thing. And I'm trying to get out of town. My wife had some doctor stuff, and then we were doing schoolwork with the kids. And I'm like, man, I got to get out of here. And I left it like right around 4 and drove 4.5 hours to get down here to do this. And when you said 5 minutes, I'm like,
sorry,
man, I'm still in the hallway. I'm still checking into this place. So it was, it worked out. It like I said, I really appreciate it. It's been just as much fun for me. And it must be the host is the way I can look at it. If I'm smiling, we're all joking around. It's gotta be the host.
There you go, mate. I'll go with that. We need to have a moonshine or something together soon in 2021 when all of our borders are back open and life gets back to some kind of semi-normal. Where do people find your social? I know that your merchandise stuff is important to you as well. Your website looks really, really cool. I guess if we just Google Tim McCreadie, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really, I don't do social media really at all. I have a guy that does a fan page for me that I've met maybe once or twice, and it's amazing how he does it and keeps up without my help at all. And then ASI Raceway is where all my apparel is sold at, which I appreciate everybody that buys all my stuff, and they've got a lot of new stuff that's coming out, and they've got new stuff, like they recycle. Like when I say recycle, they redo a lot of stuff that's new. They don't stick with just one design. And then, I mean, I have my Twitter, but I can't do it. I used to do it. Listen, I've been on Twitter for about 2 months after Twitter came about, and I thought, I'm going to be this guy. I'm the new guy. I'll figure this out. Long before Facebook was going and MySpace was ending, and I'm like, I'm all over this thing. And then I got to thinking, man, my thumbs are hurting from beating on this TV, on this phone all day. So, I mean, I'm on there and I'll look at some things, and I might even respond to a couple people that need help with T-shirts or things. But there's so many people that are way better than I am, and I don't know if I got time to do it. When I'm home with these kids, my phone's usually on the counter, and I'm MIA until I leave again. So maybe I'll wake up. I know Bill Stein Shocks, the guys that help us, and obviously Longhorn and everybody that's behind us wants me to do more, but I don't know. I'm trying not to. I'm a 46. I'm trying not to be that guy. But
have you seen Logan Lucky? Have you seen the movie Logan Lucky?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know all the Twitters.
I think it's probably best that you might not think as much as me if I get on this thing, realizing that if I get behind a computer screen and I can't get punched in the mouth, there's a lot I can say. I mean, I can say a lot if I know that I'm never going to get hit. I just rather save it at the track, where if I got enough gall to say it, I know what might happen one way or the other. because that's how I grew up. Like if you were going to run over Frank Cozy or one of them guys, you might, or Don O'Neill, you knew where you stood really quick with them guys. And I didn't have to worry about, DMing or PMing or whatever, all that stuff is, but also we need it. Like, don't let me be that guy. We need it. But, I took the right-hand turn off the information highway 10 years ago. So I'm kind of, I'm on dial-up.
You know what, mate?
If you really want to know the truth.
As long as we're talking about racing, that's all that matters, mate. As long as we're talking about it, because when we all stop talking about it, that's when we start talking about something that's far less important. There's only two things in our life, mate. There's family and there's racing, buddy. So good to catch up with you. Have fun at Magnolia. Kick some butt. Looking forward to seeing how you do. And really can't thank you enough, Tim, for all your time. You're a bloody champion.
Thank you, man. Anytime. Like I said, whenever you guys get bored and you need a late model guy around, just call me up. I'll be here. We'll
see you at Dingus, mate. Thanks, buddy. Wow, how good. He was just, wow, that was great, wasn't it? What a character. Everybody told me the same thing. They said, man, just wait until you meet Tim. He's just a fantastic guy. And it's absolutely true. Hey, thank you very much for your time on this Wednesday night. Please share this. If you wouldn't mind, jump on and just share it. Let's get the word out. Let's talk more about late models. Let's talk more about Knoxville Raceway. Check out knoxvilleRaceway.com. Get on that Dirt newsletter as well. And lock in those dates, late model fans. September 18 to 21. It's the Lucas Oil's Late Model Nationals. Can T-Mac get up and get another one of those? You'll probably catch him a week in advance at Dingus. Hey, on behalf of everybody at Knoxville Raceway, I hope you can check out methanolmoonshinemerch.com and get around some of my apparel, but certainly get across the winter range of the Knoxville Raceway stuff at Denison Racing Tees. I look forward to catching you next week, and just want to remind everybody before we go, thank you for your service. If you've served in the military or you continue to serve into the military, we greatly appreciate you all. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Be safe, and I'll catch you next week for Wednesdays with Wade. Wonder who we're going to catch up with then. See ya.